The first time Karen stormed into my forest with a clipboard and sunglasses, she told me I was breaking HOA rules. The only problem?
Yeah.
I wasn't part of her HOA. In fact, I was her new landowner, the man who owned the very forest she had wandered into without permission. And that was the day everything changed. For years, I dreamed of owning land where no one could tell me what to do. City living had drained my neighbors spying, HOA boards mailing fines for unapproved garden colors, and constant noise. When I stumbled across a listing for 60 untouched acres bordering a small subdivision, I jumped. The listing made, it sounded like paradise. Pine groves, a bubbling creek, and hunting trails cut decades ago by the original family who owned it. I bought it without hesitation, imagining peaceful mornings and evenings by a campfire. What the realtor didn't mention was that paradise came with a Queen, president of the neighboring HOA, who thought her rules applied to everyone. Within 5 miles, it was 2 days after I moved my camper onto the property when it happened. I was unloading supplies, stacking lumber for the small cabin I planned to build. I heard branches snapping behind me. I turned, expecting a deer. Instead, it was Karen. She marched toward me like a general leading troops, oversized sunglasses. Covering half her face, a clipboard tucked under her arm. She didn't even bother with introductions. "You can't camp here," she barked. "HOA regulations prohibit mobile dwellings." I almost laughed. "Ma'am, this isn't your subdivision. This is my land," Karen scoffed, pointing her pen. "Like a weapon. That's impossible. Everything around here falls under HOA oversight." That's when I pulled the deed from my pocket. Call it paranoia, but I had already heard whispers in town about the crazy HOA lady who thought she ruled the county. I held the papers out like a knight presenting his sword. "This forest is mine," I said, "and you're trespassing." For the first time, Karen faltered. She stammered something about calling a board meeting and stormed off through the trees, muttering about fines. I thought that would be the end of it. But anyone who has ever lived near a Karen knows that they don't give up easily. Next week, she came back with reinforcements. 2 HOA officers followed her, armed with orange violation notices. They stapled them to my oak trees, accusing me of unauthorized camping, unauthorized construction. Disturbing the natural aesthetics, I ripped the notices down and threw them at her feet. "You have no authority here. This isn't your subdivision. Do it again, and I'll have you trespassed." Karen smirked. The HOA always wins. Wasn't about to let a suburban tyrant bully me. I called the county land office, explained what was happening, and requested a boundary inspection. Within 48 hours, a county surveyor showed up, confirmed every inch of my property lines, and drove bright markers into the ground. Karen appeared that afternoon. I was waiting. "See these markers? This is my forest. The HOA ends at that fence. Step over it again and I'll have the sheriff explain property law to you." Her face flushed red. "We'll see about that." She snapped before storming off. Karen didn't stop. Over the next month, she tried every trick in the book. Noise complaints. She called the sheriff 3 times, claiming I was operating heavy machinery at midnight. Each time, the deputies found nothing. Trash accusations. She left bags of garbage on my land, then called code enforcement to report an illegal dump site. Thankfully, I had installed trail cameras, which caught her in the act. Fake HOA fines. She mailed me letters demanding $2,500 for non-compliance. I laughed and used them as kindling. But her boldest move came one Saturday morning. I woke up. 2 hammering. When I walked down my trail, I found Karen and 2 HOA board members building a wooden fence inside my property line. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I demanded. Karen adjusted her sunglasses, extending the neighborhood boundary. "This land is technically communal space." "Wrong," I snapped. "You're trespassing and vandalizing private property." When she refused to stop, I called the sheriff. By the time deputies arrived, Karen was halfway through painting HOA property on my trees. The officers forced her to remove the fence. But instead of apologizing, she screamed about corruption and favoritism. That was when one of the deputies leaned over and whispered, "She's notorious. You're not the first person she's tried this with." At that point, I realized Karen wouldn't stop until I made her. So, I decided to fight back, but legally. Step 1 was upgrading my trail cameras to high-resolution models with night vision. Step 2 was installing bright, no trespassing, and private property signs along every entry point. Step 3. Contacting an attorney. Within 2 weeks, I had a cease and desist order drafted and served to Karen and her entire HOA board. It outlined every incident of trespassing, harassment, and nuisance, complete with photographic evidence. Document warned that if they crossed onto my property again, I would press charges. The effect was immediate. The HOA board panicked. Half of them wanted nothing to do with Karen's crusade anymore. But Karen, she doubled down. One evening, I returned to find my supply shed broken into. Tools were scattered and a spray-painted message covered the wall. HOA rules apply. That was it. I filed a police report, handed over my trail camera footage. Sure enough, it's caught Karen sneaking in with a can of spray paint and pressed charges. Karen was arrested for trespassing and vandalism. It's watching her being led into a squad. Car was satisfying beyond words. The case went to court. My attorney presented the deed, the county surveyor's report, and hours of trail camera footage showing Karen and her allies trespassing. Karen tried to argue that she was protecting neighborhood standards, but the judge wasn't buying it. The verdict: guilty. She was fined heavily, ordered to pay restitution for the shed damage, and banned from stepping onto my property again. Her reign of HOA terror crumbled. The board voted to remove her as president within weeks. Today, my cabin is nearly finished. I wake up to birdsong, chop wood for the fire, and fish from my creek in peace. Occasionally, I see Karen peering over her subdivision fence, watching me live free in the forest she once thought she controlled. I always give her a little wave. Because no matter how loud a Karen screams, no matter how many clipboards she waves, the truth is simple. Her power ends where my land begins. And this forest. It's mine. For more interesting and heart-touching stories, hit the subscribe button now.